Hello, I'm Paul, and
This is Donnie, stuck in
uh,
traffic.
yeah, Donnie's stuck in traffic. We were going to do an episode today, and he's stuck in traffic, and it's going to take forever, so we figured we'd just hop on and do it. Anyways, today we're going to talk about goal setting, and then one of the things that me and my wife do is every year we pick a word that sets the tone for the year. Anyway, so with goal setting, Donnie, what do you have to say about goal setting? What has been your experience? What's worked for you? What hasn't worked for you?
My experience with goal setting is, obviously you typically set a larger goal and then a lot of people get, flustered or don't know how to finish it. So I think the biggest thing with setting a goal is maybe starting with a vision board, but everything everything always starts with an action. Once you take your first action, you're literally just building win upon win. A lot of people just don't take action. That's why you never get started, you never finish. So I think some of the bigger things that I've done, finishing my master's degree, I started it a long time ago, and then you're one of the people that helped motivate me to finish it. So it's like just putting it out there, getting started is probably one of people's biggest problems is never just taking action.
So that's interesting when you said that not to talk about me, but just people help you achieve goals. You mentioned me with your master's degree. How do people play into that, into helping you achieve those goals?
I think that a lot of people, I think that's the extrinsic. I can't even think of the word right now. I can't say it.
Yeah. No, you said it
Um,
right.
you know, the extrinsic value of people, that buy-in from other people that people see that you're doing well and want to help you. People always think that everything is completely on yourself, whereas when you start, I wouldn't necessarily say rely on other people, but you can definitely get some drive that helps build upon your momentum to keep your goals going. Again, the hardest part is getting started. And if you have that person in your life that will, push you to even just get started, that's one step that you weren't taking on your own.
Yeah, I think people really play an important role in goals, and not just in goals, but like goal setting. I think the people around you help kind of determine your goals. You're going to have your own independent goals, right? I mean, so those intrinsic kind of goals that you have. I'll give you an example though, like where a good goal and a bad goal. I knew somebody who was a close friend of mine who, man, I remember he got mad at me because he was like, "I'm going to be a lawyer," and I was like, "Dude, like." You don't even have a high school diploma. You dropped out of high school. Like, what do you mean? And it wasn't like he was, 17 years old. This guy was 24 years old, and he's like, I'm going to be a lawyer. And I was like, okay, man, so you're going to be a lawyer. And he's all set into being a lawyer, but what are you doing now? Like, you need to set goals to get to that goal, right? You need to take action. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the big things that kind of gets to me is like action. People say, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be, a commander. I want to be a chief master sergeant or whatever their goal is, but they don't do anything today to bring about that goal, right? They're not taking constant daily action. And I read something and something that I like to kind of think about all the time, which is your actions tell me what your goals are more than your words do, right? So what you're doing now tells me what your goals are for the future. Now, the other piece is that when you look at that, my friend's life, his friends didn't have degrees, right? His friends didn't have professional jobs. Not that you need a professional job. They weren't doing trade school. They weren't in a professional job. They weren't going to school. You know what they were doing?
What?
They were partying. They were fighting each other in the basement and they were doing all kinds of things that they shouldn't be doing, right? And those were the people that he had around him, right? And so when you surround yourself with people that have goals, that are trying to achieve goals, one, they will support you when you're trying to achieve goals, but two, they may help you set goals that are higher than where you thought you could be. It's like they say, like try to be the dumbest person in the room. It's not necessarily that you're
Yeah.
unintelligent, but it's the fact that you may not be the most skilled person or the most knowledgeable person in a room. And when you're around people that are doing things at a higher level than you, it normalizes those actions. So that now when you
Yeah.
do it, it doesn't feel like like it's something that is completely unreachable or unusual or just crazy, right? Crazy. People do things and they're like, man, that's crazy. Well, when you're around other people that are doing crazy things, it doesn't seem crazy anymore.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the 5 people or 10 people that you're around the most, you're gonna be like. So surround yourself with the smartest people in the room, you know. Just like going to the gym, you don't want to lift with the weakest person in the gym, you want to lift with the strongest person because, you know, shoot for the what? Shoot for the stars and land on the moon. Like if you
Yeah.
shoot
Hmm.
your goals, you know, there is some saying that, you know, don't be irrational about your goals, but at the same time, if you shoot them so high, you know, even if you don't hit those goals, you may still end up in a place that you're better than you were before.
Hmm. You know, what's really interesting too is, like you said, shoot for the stars and land on the moon. One of the big pieces of advice, I don't know if I gave you this piece of advice. I would always give it to people that I supervised, but I'm not sure if I did with you or not. But anyways, one of the big things that I was really big about saying, especially early in my career, is you're responsible for the mentors you choose to follow. And so these people that you choose to follow, they're going to push and motivate you to achieve better and greater goals, right? And so, and you can see what they're trying to do based on their goals. But more to the point, the people that you hang out with are a reflection of you. Now, it isn't to say that
Oh
you
yeah.
are those people, right? But if those people are going out and getting in trouble and doing crazy things, or they're the slackers at work, and you're like, I'm not like them. You're not now, but you will be eventually, right? They've proven that simply by sitting by somebody that's a lower performer will lower your performance. And by sitting somebody that is a higher performer will increase your performance, right? And so the more you're around lower performers, the more likely you are to decrease your performance.
No, I agree. I want to just touch on what we were, you know, what we were speaking to a second ago, and one thing that you're knowledgeable about is setting SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable. What is the R and the T?
Um, I actually don't really focus on SMART goals that much. But yeah, I mean,
Uh,
SMART goals, right? You had most of them, the R and the T. Um,
I literally just
time,
looked it up.
T is time.
Time.
Um, and then R is, gosh dang it, I can't remember what R is. Let me look.
Yeah, I literally had it written down yesterday. But in general, setting specific goals that you know are
Relevant.
achievable, relevant, and in a timely manner. Like these are all things that, you know, again, while you look at that bigger goal, maybe that you put on your vision board, how are you going to knock that down? You know, how are you going to get started? It's like building a pyramid. You start with the base and you progress as it goes, you know. You don't just shoot for becoming a lawyer and then hey, next week you're a lawyer, you know, like you mentioned a minute ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to have actual goals. One of the things that my wife and I really try to do is with our investing, we try to hang out with people that are at a different level than us. And we'll try and we'll fight to kind of get in rooms with people that are doing different things. I wouldn't say fight, honestly, but we're not like trying to kick in doors and do that kind of stuff. But we're always looking for people that are doing things that we're not, that are maybe at a higher level. Maybe they have 100 doors. Maybe they have, whatever it is. Maybe their net worth is, $20 million, $30 million. But the reason why we're doing that is because when we are talking about investments, when we're talking about our goals, financial goals, these people, they're doing things that we haven't done before, so we can watch and observe. We normalize kind of what's happening, or they normalize what's happening within their daily environment. So then now when we go to do it, it's not as uncomfortable. I mean, specifically like rentals, that was the big one because you hear a lot of people like the most expensive thing you'll ever buy is your home, right? But then when you start talking to people in the military, specifically, this is, I mean, my experience, my wife's is different. She's not military, but you'd be surprised how many people are actually investing in houses, right? And how many
Mm-hmm.
houses people own. And you would think that like, oh man, keeping my house when I PCS or having more than one house is scary. A lot of people do think that it's scary. I know this because my wife's a realtor. She talks to a lot of people, including military members that are PCSing and don't want to keep their house or don't want to keep buying an investment property or whatever it may be. But when you're hanging out with people that have been successful doing it, it makes you more likely and more open to that idea.
Yeah, and when we talked last time on our first episode, we talked about utilizing the VA loan. That, you know, that's priceless, really. Every place you move or PCS, you should be trying to buy a house and then leveraging in the future for other military members. You know, you're going to get a good renter. You know, eventually you're just building that equity, and you also might have a little bit of change coming in. So, I mean, it
Hmm.
doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of what your goal is, right? I mean, for us, it's real estate. Now, there's other financial investment tools that we definitely don't use that I know a lot of people have been very successful in. And but finances isn't necessarily what we're here to talk about. It's about goal setting and just I think that example about trying to put myself around people that are doing things that I want to do, right? And that's what I'm trying to talk about. So,
Yeah. And this can even be utilized in your career. I mean, you know, when I was a tech sergeant looking to be a master sergeant, am I talking to tech sergeants about how to be a senior NCO, or am I reaching out for mentorship from people that are ranked higher than me?
yeah,
I mean,
no, that's
if you want to be
yeah,
good
that's
at your
go
if
ahead.
you want to be good at your position, you know, or your job that you're doing, do you hang out with Joe Schmo, or do you go to the top performer? You know, you want to sell houses. Do you go to the person that sold one house last year, or the person that sold 50 houses?
Nice.
So,
Yeah, I like it. So we talked about the people thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about was you mentioned vision boards. Do those work for you?
so I one of my mentors, Shirley, she had talked to me about creating a vision board, and I have been slacking. I always want to get the perfect one, so I'm like, oh, I want to find the Gucci one with all the with all the magnets and all that stuff that I can put pictures on and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I haven't got around to it yet, and I think that it could help. I mean, honestly, like if you're putting your thoughts and your visions on a board and you look at it every day, the key is to put your goals or your path a place that you can see it every day. So, you know, if it's your goal is getting a six pack, right? If you're looking at that every day, especially if you put it on your refrigerator, maybe you'll make that choice and not eat that donut at midnight, you know? Um, I definitely am going to start one very soon. 2024, I think, is going to be a big year for goals. I know we were talking about words, and for me, consistency is my word, and I'm definitely looking at fulfilling that. You know, looking at a board and saying, how do I get to financial freedom? How do I get to that next level?
Yeah, no. So, what Donnie's talking about is we were talking about me and my wife, we set a word of the year that kind of sets the tone. So like what we're focusing on that year. Last year it was capability. So we were building up a bunch of capability, right? Things that maybe skills that we didn't have, like trying to build those capabilities, maybe financial capabilities, educational capabilities, whatever it may be. Right. This year, what would you say your word was? It was consistency.
Consistency. Yeah.
Yeah, consistency. I like that.
I think no matter, again, you know, we're touching on it again, is like, you can start any goal, right? And if you're not persistently like chipping away at it, you know, if we don't record videos, we're never going to get better at it. So where do we start? Consistency, doing it over and over and over again. Repetition is key to anything, especially
Yeah,
success.
I can definitely see a couple things I need to fix in my immediate environment with this video. Anyways, um, and it's because we're doing it. Anyways, consistency. So consistency is awesome because, and it doesn't have to be about one thing. And this is, I think, to bring it back to the military, right? Is consistency in whatever you're doing, right? Performance. If you're controlling aircraft, if you're, writing EPRs or EPBs now or whatever they are at the time that you see this, as we change everything all the time. Anyways, it doesn't have to be focused on one thing, and I think that's where I really failed when I was younger. Is I was focused on really two things, I guess. One was just being a good airman, right? Just being good at what I do at my job. The other one was working out, so going to the gym all the time, doing that kind of stuff. But I was so hyper focused on that one thing or those two things. Really, it was almost one thing. I was doing my job and just, I mean, I was there, several hours a day, most of the day. So that's by default, I was doing that consistently. But I was focused on the gym and I wasn't focused on anything else. I wasn't focused on education. I wasn't focused on my retirement. And I know that sounds crazy as an airman to be focused on your retirement as a brand new enlisted member or a brand new officer or whomever, to be focused on retirement, about finances and that kind of stuff. And I just wasn't, right. And I wasn't consistently taking action to ensure that I was preparing myself for the future. And it hurt me when it came time for my re-enlistment. Did I want to get out? Did I not want to get out? Well, I had given myself no options because I didn't have one, like we talked about before, the goals, because I wasn't hanging out with people that was talking about finances, that was talking about preparing yourself for the future, that was talking about what the future could be. And two, I wasn't really focused on anything other than just having fun and looking good and being good at my job, right? So I think we can be consistent on multiple things, right? But I do think that there is a point of saturation where if you have too many things you're looking at, now you're not really good at anything, right? So I mean, what do you want to be good at? What are the few things you want to be awesome at? Family, if you don't have a family, specifically wife or kids or whatever it may be, what are you spending your spare time doing? I think that that really does say a lot about you, the people you hang out with, and what you're doing is, what are you focusing on and what are you consistently doing?
Agreed. I understand what you're saying. Like consistency, you can have a baseline consistency and most of your efforts in life, but you're never going to get truly good at everything. Let's be realistic. So I think consistency overall, just keeping a baseline of, if you're going to start this goal to get in shape, you need to be consistent on that. But
Yeah.
you definitely make a good point that whatever your main goal at the time is, should be your obviously your main focus. But I don't think that it limits that you can be consistent in a large portion of different things.
Yeah. Well, and that's sometimes you may have to shift your focus to one thing because it takes more time and effort at that moment. And then once you get really good at that, then it takes less conscious effort and you can be consistent more out of habit as opposed to consciously putting in that energy and focus. And now you're good at going to the gym because it's become a habit, right? And then once you get to that point, maybe you can shift your focus to something else just a little bit more where you're hyper focused on that until you build those skills, right? Um, I'm talking a little bit reciprocal here, like just in loops, but consistency is dead. Like it's just important. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what your goals are. You have to take action. You have to have a goal of where you're trying to go, at least a vision. For me, vision boards, I've tried them. I like them. To be honest, I have more fun making them than I do looking at them. So I know some people it really works. I just have not found that it's been great for me. It's like every time I set a vision board, I end up doing something else. And my actions are telling me what my priorities are. It's like I was telling you, my vision board may be what I say my priority is, but my actions say something different, right? Like I wanted to compete. I mean, you knew me back in Spangdahlem when I was there. I wanted to compete, but what did my actions say? My actions said I wanted to be a PhD. And what am I doing now? I'm doing a PhD. I'm not competing, right? I'm nowhere close to the fitness level I was. And while I thought that's what I wanted, I was dedicating time to something else. And I think that's a really critical thing to look at is like when you have your vision board, is it does it take an excessive amount of energy and willpower to make you do that? If you hate it and you're trying to do it, depending on what it is, like if you're trying to get healthy, you definitely need to fight through that. But if it's like you want to be a bodybuilder, but maybe you don't want to be a bodybuilder, maybe you just like the way bodybuilders look and you think that's what you want to do. Right. Well, in reality, you don't want to be a bodybuilder, right? So I think vision boards can be valuable for that. I think that they can be valuable to if you have the right vision board and it really does motivate you. What I didn't like about vision boards is like when I would put up my car, right? I wanted a 1961 Corvette. It's like, I mean, that doesn't motivate me, right? I'm not motivated by that, even though I like it. And so I was putting the wrong things on, and that might be why vision boards didn't work for me.
Yeah, and I think it could be different for everyone. I just think, it's a good idea at least to put, even if it's not a vision board, definitely putting your thoughts on paper. A lot of people don't do that anymore, and the more you say something and, the more likely you are to do it. Even if
Yeah.
it's just a piece of paper writing down your goals in that manner, you know. And they can change. Goals change over time. People change. And if you're not changing, then you're remaining stagnant, and that's not good either.
You know, I don't want to say that you shouldn't do a vision board. That's not what I'm saying. So people should do vision boards if they want to do vision boards. It works for some people. I don't think it works for other people. I actually, I like affirmations. Like I like to meditate in the morning. I like to journal about my thoughts. I like to do, I have like a personal constitution that I use to focus, like mantras. I like mantras that were like, if something's going on, it sounds weird, but like for an example in the gym, when I'd be looking at a weight that I didn't think I could get, I would just look at myself and be like, don't be a freaking wimp. Like just lift it. You know, don't be a wimp. And and for whatever reason, like just saying that to myself over and over and over again, I know it sounds stupid and it makes me sound, I don't know, maybe beta, I'm not sure, but I just look at it and be like, just don't be a wimp, just freaking lift it. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, it
Mm,
helped me get over that loop. And so like little things that I say to myself when I encounter problems, when I encounter those barriers, you know, if I say those mantras to myself, then I just move forward. Mantras work better for me than vision boards. That's been my personal
mm.
experience. So, but there's a lot of different tools out there. And I think finding those tools is one of those critical things is how do you learn? What do you like to do? What motivates you? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different. So, I mean, what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. Just like
Hmm.
learning, like you stated.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm a visual learner. You know, you might like to read. I don't know, or you might be hands-on. So it's just finding what works for you, and then accelerating on that path once you figure out what it is.
Yeah.
I think you brought up one other topic I wanted to touch base on though is um, Atomic Habits by James Clear. He mentions basically, and I've heard this from other people, is setting up systems over habits. So the system, so when you set a goal again to get in shape, right? And you know, you're not looking at it every day or you fall off the wagon. If you set up those systems that or it becomes a habit that every morning at 4:30 I'm waking up to go to the gym, which is what I do, which is great waking up that early. But once you knock it out and it becomes part of your life, you know, once you surpass that goal, then you know putting those systems in place for success and not actually looking at the end goal is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I mean, you set up habits and it becomes you don't have to try anymore, right? Where I don't know when people say it's like willpower, like you have a willpower meter. At the beginning of the day,
Yeah,
it's way high, and the further the day goes, the more you run down your willpower. However, if you set up habits and systems, then it doesn't take as much willpower to push through that, right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then also what you're saying, I think, you know, going to the gym in the morning or whatever it may be, sometimes for me, the older I've gotten, the more likely I am to get something completed in the morning, even if it's on the weekends. You know, if I'm gonna do anything, I have more brain bites and I have more I wasn't gonna use I have more willpower or I'm more likely to get something done that's harder in the morning. Get your hard stuff done in the morning, and
Yeah.
then the rest of the day is easy.
Yeah, I find that when I'm working on, it's so funny. I'll be up working on a paper late or working on, you know, a chapter or whatever I'm working on at the time when I'm writing. Even evaluations, sometimes I'll be working on evaluations and I'll be up and I'll be trying to like cram it in before I go to bed, and I just can't get it on paper. And then you wake up the next morning. I wake up super early, so like you, I used to get up and go to the gym at 4 in the morning every day, and now just because with my family something had to kind of go. That morning time is when I'm the most productive, and I was having a hard time getting my work done for school in the afternoon. So I switched where now I do my schoolwork in the morning, and it's so funny because I'll literally look at something for an hour and a half, can't get it the way I want it. I sit down first thing in the morning, and 15 minutes later, it just comes to me. You know, it's like wow. You know, some people are productive in the morning, some people are productive in the evening, right? And that depends on the people too, right? So that's another thing about achieving goals is what time of the day are you the most productive and make sure that you're ready to perform at that time of the day.
Exactly. It's always good to have a fresh mind whenever it may be.
My word though was for this year is intentional. So intentionally taking action to bring about my desired outcome, my desired future, whatever it may be, right? So then I'm also, for us, it's, we're not wasting time. Like, are we investing in the right areas? Or am I focusing on the right topics in my studies, right? I want to get my PhD done before I retire. Heck with that. I don't want to get it done for retire. I want to get it done years before I retire. Right? I want to get it done like right after I finish my preliminary exams. I want to be doing my dissertation, right? And right after I get done with my classes, I want to be doing my preliminary exams. And so I want to be focused, and I have to be focused. I have a year and a half before I get to the preliminary exam point. So when I get there, I want to be ready to go, right? And then when I'm done with that, I want to be done with my dissertation and like, I don't know, I would like to be done in 3 and 4 months, but 6 months at the latest is like that 3 to 6 months. And I know 3 months people are going to be like, you're insane, but it can happen. I know it can happen. I know people that have done it. Anyways, but it's because they were intentional in their work, right? You spend all these hours doing things. Well, am I wasting this time? By wasting, wasting is a tough word. It's you don't really waste time when you're doing work, learning, but am I using it as proactively and as beneficially as I can to ensure that I'm working on the things that are going to benefit me and my family in the future, right? Am I studying a topic? Am I really digging into a topic that doesn't add any value to my end goal? Right. And that's kind of what we're talking about, being intentional.
Yeah, you're being intentional in your effort and your focus.
Yeah.
But you're also being consistent. Look at that.
Yeah, that's
So
true. I have a hard time with that though. I will tell you that I've had a hard time with my schoolwork sometimes because I know that with my wife and my son, it's really tough. They want to spend time with me and they want to go out on the weekends and they want to do things. And I have to spend a lot. It's a ridiculous amount of time just reading sometimes. I remember we're working on this assignment. It's this article that I'm trying to get published. And I had to do it for a class as well. So it's a requirement in my class to submit for publication to graduate. In any case, I was working on this article and my wife kept wanting to go do things like I had a trip to Hawaii for work actually, but my family, surprise, we're coming too. Anyways, so we had to go to Hawaii. Um, she wanted to do, weekend trips and that kind of stuff. And I don't want to tell them no because I know that if I do, it's going to add stress to the family and that kind of stuff. So sometimes I have a really hard time being intentional about how I spend all of my time. I want to intentionally show my family that I love them and that I care for them, right? So when I talked about like my personal constitution that I report, that I actually tell I read it, I say it to myself every day, and it is that um sorry, it just popped up with the time requirement. Sorry about that. Anyways, it is, above all, families first. So I'll always show my love and gratitude as a father, family, son, and friend. And and husband. But the thing is here is that I'm trying to balance those two things that are really important to me. And sometimes they 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 shift, right? So like family, there are times when I have to put the family above everything else, including the main thing I'm working on. But then there are times when I'm like, okay, guys, like, hey, I've given a lot of time and effort, and it's time for me to focus on this. And they don't always understand because sometimes it's weeks of reading to really understand, or not weeks, but it could be days, could be weeks, could be whatever before you really know what you're doing and understand your topic. And they just don't understand that. So it's tough because I'm trying to balance those two things.
sorry about it's calling in. I'm about to hit the house.
Yeah, it's okay, man. So we're right at the time limit we wanted to be at anyways. So anyways, yeah, I think that it was good. We talked about some goal setting, being intentional, using the tools that work for you. Maybe it's vision boards, maybe it's mantras, could be anything else, right? Whatever it may be. Surrounding yourself with people that help you achieve your goals. And then in the end, maybe you have a word of the year like you have and I have, like yours was consistent, right? And consistent,
Yeah, my word was consistent.
and mine
And
was
part of
intentional.
this choppy messages to or our video today is us being consistent. So
Yeah, yeah, they're
um,
trying to be. We haven't been super great at it, but we need to be.
yeah.
That's why this year we're going to be consistent.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let the fans go, and you have a great evening. I
Heck
gotta
yeah, brother.
call my wife. All
Yep.
right.
See ya.